Hey guys, welcome in Gorilla Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Bulpin, and it's Saturday, August the 12th. All right, quick recap from Thursday. We smashed on Thursday. We gave out Kenneth Walker over 18 and a half receiving yards. He smashed over that one. And we gave out a same game parlay. Love it. We ended up taking San Francisco Niners on the money line. We took Deebo Samuel over his receiving yard prop. And then we took Kenneth Walker over his receiving prop as well. That came into a nice 6-1 shot on our same game parlay, plus the original Kenneth Walker bet. We had a good little Thursday. Now let's get after it for this weekend. All right, let's start overseas in London, England, and we're going to take Caleb Williams over 234 and a half passing yards. I like this look. Now, he's gone over 300 yards in 2 out of his last 3 games. He's scorched Carolina for 304 yards, and he's smashed Indy for 363 yards, which is beautiful because both of those defenses have something in common with Jacksonville. They're terrible. Jacksonville's pass defense is terrible. They've given up the second most passing yards to the quarterback position. Flacco just scorched them for 369 yards. Stroud went for 345, Tua for 338. And we're looking for Caleb Williams to get over 234 and a half passing yards. Love this look. In that same game, we're going to take DeAndre Swift. Now, I can't stress this enough. I put out a podcast on Wednesday night live on Twitter Spaces with one of my partners. And then I put the same podcast out on Thursday. You can find that in my podcast feed. I really suggest listening to it because this is the earliest that any of the sports books put out the numbers. So I'm already doing the research for you. So just get those plays in as soon as you can on Wednesday because these lines have only gone up. So I took DeAndre Swift at 16 and a half receiving yards. Love this play. Now I see it's up to about 20 and a half, 21 and a half at places. I don't mind it at the 20 and a half, 21 and a half. You're starting to get into that little gray area, but I like this play. He's covered this in 4 straight games. He's averaging 41 and a quarter receiving yards over that stretch. Jacksonville goes up the second most receiving yards to the running back position. And over his last 2 games, which have kind of been his coming out party, again, it gets bad defenses, but so is Jacksonville. He's given up 9 catches for 119 yards. That is a great look. So give me DeAndre Swift over 16 and a half receiving yards. My next play is we're going to go to the Baltimore and Washington game, and I'm going to take Jaden Daniels over 226 and a half passing yards. Now, he's covered this in 3 straight. He's 4-1 to the over in his 5 games so far this year. Baltimore is an absolute pass funnel. They are dead last. They give up the most passing yards to the quarterback position, and they are first, giving up the least amount of rushing yards to the running back position. You can't get more of a disparity, 32-1 from passing yards to rushing yards. Clearly, they're going to need to pass if they want to keep in this game. It's a high-scoring total, so this should be a bit of a shootout. They just let Joe Burrow scorch him for 392 yards. They let Dak go for 379 yards, and we're looking for 226 and a half passing yards for Jaden Daniels. Love that look. My next play is we're going to go to the Tennessee Titans, and we're going to take Tony Pollard, and we're going to take him over his rushing and receiving combo prop. Now, I got that at 83 and a half. I see it's up to about 84 and a half, 85 and a half. I'll still take it there. I like that look as well. Now, the Colts give up the 3rd most rushing yards to the running back position and the 5th most receiving yards to the running back position. Perfect, because we're looking for rushing and receiving. Now, he's covered this 83 and a half number in 3 out of his last 4 games, and he's averaging over 100 yards in those games. So that's perfect. We got a lot of wiggle room on there on that 83 and a half, 84, 85, wherever you're getting it at. So I do really like that. Give me Tony Pollard over 83 and a half rushing and receiving yards. My next play is if you've got any same game parlays, you should either have a free bet on whether it's DraftKings or a profit boost on FanDuel or Bet365 or any of them. This Detroit and Dallas game is screaming same game parlay. Now, I made all of these bets individually, but I put them into a parlay as well. My first one is I'm taking Dak Prescott over 276 and a half passing yards. Now, he's covered this in 3 out of his last 4 games. He just put up 352 versus a stingy Pittsburgh defense. And now he's going versus Detroit. Detroit gives up the 5th most passing yards to the quarterback position, and they are number 1, dead last versus receiving yards to the wide receiver position. Perfect. Geno Smith just scorched him for 395 yards last game, and we're looking for 276 out of Dak Prescott. Yes, please. We're also going to take CD Lamb. Again, I gave this play out on Wednesday at 80.5. Now, it has only gone up. I see it going up to 85.5, and it's still climbing. You can still get in. Now, I usually don't like taking receivers in and around that 90 range unless it's an absolute perfect matchup, which this is. So I don't mind getting there now. Last season, CD Lamb caught 13 balls for 227 yards versus the same Detroit team. So I do like CD Lamb over 80.5 receiving yards. Now, give me Jalen Tolbert as well. I also like him. Now, his line set at about 45.5. I see that climbing as well. With no Brandon Cooks, he emerged as Dak's number 2 target out there. He went 10 targets, 7 catches for 87 yards last game. And now they're set this at 45.5. So even if CD Lamb somehow gets some double coverage, this should leave him wide open. So I do like Jalen Tolbert over his receiving prop. And then on the other side of the game, I like David Montgomery. Now, I'm going to keep hitting this until they move it. Now, I'm taking him over 8.5 receiving yards. Now, I gave up this same play last week, and this came out as a winner for us. Again, we keep getting the discounted price versus Jahmyr Gibbs on the same team. Now, essentially, Monty is supposed to be the running downs back, but they don't really utilize it like that. They go series on and series off for this team. If you watch, David Montgomery will be the first guy out there, and he will have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plays in a row before they pull in Montgomery. Unless he breaks a long one, he's tired, he throws his hand up saying, take me off the field. But they go series for series, which if they're calling a play that is a passing play, and he's the screenplay, they'll give it to Montgomery. It's not like he doesn't have catching in his ability. Now, he's covered this line in 3 straight games. He's got 8 catches for 92 yards. He's averaging 30 yards a game. Love it. Dallas gives up the 6th most receiving yards to the running back position. Now, as much as like Jahmyr Gibbs is their pass catching back, he hasn't caught a pass in 2 games. It's been all Montgomery. So please give me David Montgomery over 8.5 receiving yards. Love that look. So that will conclude our nice same game parlay. All of our singles on that as well. A couple of leans I like as well. I like Josh Jacobs over his rushing yard props. That's another one that I've put a bet on, but not as an official play for the podcast. Those are the ones I got, guys. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving up here in Canada. And if you're rocking with me, let's roll.